Having a platform that provides access to all music for free was actually our basic need. It sounds pleasing to get this privilege, but if you're a music artist or a member of a record label, this might sound offensive. There has always been a need for a platform to provide music for free while paying the artists and the record labels as well. Sounds impossible, right? With the motive of giving free access to music and also paying the record labels, the idea of Spotify took birth. And in 2006, Daniel Ek launched his app Spotify, which offers access to all music in no time. The amazing user experience and the organized songs attract all the music fans. Right from the year when Spotify launched, it became one of the favorite apps of all time. Currently, it has over 433 million monthly active users. But things were never smooth for this beloved app. Starting from being one of the most controversial apps, Spotify became one of the most popular apps in some years. Currently, Spotify has the power to make an artist a star overnight. Let's uncover the story of Spotify. When the music industry was cluttered with many apps offering users to download and share pirated music, Daniel decided to make a huge business out of it. Although it was easy to download and share music, the user experience of these apps was not pleasing at all. Along with that, it was an illegal way to download music and was causing artists to make less revenue. So if someone would download those pirated files, they might feel guilty every time they play the music. People had no other options, so people did download all the music for free. It was a big mess for the music industry because neither the record labels nor the artists were making any money. Meanwhile, a music fan named Daniel decided to launch an ad-based app where people could get access to the music while the artists can get a percentage of the ad revenue. It sounds simple, but its reality was way more complex. First of all, to make this app, Daniel's team needed music, but they were definitely not able to buy millions of dollars worth of music. Also, not a single artist would give their music for free. So the only option they had was to download all the pirated music and make an app. So they did. They downloaded all the music, built an app, and launched it in 2006. The users imminently joined the app because watching ads was way easier than downloading music on their own. People loved Spotify. How the albums were arranged and how minimalistic the app was attracted the audience. This much growth was not expected by Daniel. According to him, Spotify was launched as a small startup. But as Spotify started to become a massive business, things got more complex. The ad revenue generated from Spotify could not consider a successful business. Along with that, the music industry was facing a huge downfall because they were spending millions on music, but no one was paying money for it. Many artists and record labels called it exploitation, and a war between Spotify and the record labels started. They wanted Daniel to set a fixed price for each song, but Daniel knew it would end the whole point of Spotify. This change would only be profitable for artists, but the users would end up leaving the app. They would rather download pirated music than paying for each song. In the process, Daniel was willing to make any change that could benefit both the users and the artists. But in that regard, he had to neglect his own profit, which he did. The record labels wanted to make more money than what they were getting from Spotify. Daniel could not do that. He needed a better solution. Daniel said in an interview, the only way to solve the problem was to create a service that was better than piracy and at the same time compensates the music industry. He proposed the idea to start a paid version of the app. The idea was to get free music for 6 months, but after that, the user had to get a subscription. He decided to give 70% of the ad revenue to the record labels and a huge share of Spotify stocks as well. In the meantime, the record labels were getting 70% of the ad revenue, but they used to force Spotify to take each of his moves according to them. They would force Daniel to remove some features from the free version, so it would force people to get the paid version. Nothing else could be done than what the record label was saying. During this time, the record labels were making money, but some artists were not happy with what they were getting. The fake streams issue also popped up, where people would share fake songs of artists on repeat and would make a revenue from it, while the real streams were not getting that much traffic. The actual problem started when some rivals, like Apple Music, were launched in 2015. It made exclusive deals with artists like Drake, Frank Ocean, and Taylor Swift to stream their music first. It even made a lot of converters when an artist like Taylor Swift started to talk publicly about Spotify.
Big battle brewing in the music business. Superstar Taylor Swift abruptly pulling all of her albums from the streaming service Spotify.
She said that Spotify is nothing more than an experiment, but now we know it turned out well. But back then, her words were, "I'm not willing to contribute my life's work to an experiment that I don't feel fairly compensates the writers, producers, artists, and creators of this music." But the good news is that she later decided to get back to Spotify, mostly because she thought that Spotify was going to stay there forever. So why not get some royalties, then nothing? After some years, she ended all the feuds and got back to Spotify with all of her music. It's people's appreciation for Spotify that is responsible for convincing the artists. While another artist named Jay-Z became a rival of Spotify by launching his own music streaming service known as Tidal.
The launch of Tidal, the first ever artist-owned.
He decided that all his and his wife Beyoncé's music only should be available on his own streaming app. But also, they got back to Spotify after some years. This tells all about the success of Spotify. So the only real problem Spotify had was getting freedom from the record labels, because they wanted Spotify to take every move according to them. Spotify always wanted to pay artists more than the record labels. But we know the music industry. The record labels have been using music for their business and paying artists a lot less. The problem is that it's in their hands to make any artist famous. That was the milestone Spotify wanted to achieve in the first place. So, they hit the idea of getting unknown artists on Spotify. The plan was to get the artists that charge less to give their music rights. With time, they got a lot of artists that were trending on Spotify, but their faces were unknown to the world. From the viewpoint of the record labels, Spotify has been the worst thing that has happened to the music industry. But from the artist's perspective, Spotify is way better than a record label. Currently, Spotify has the power to make anyone go famous overnight. It wouldn't be wrong to say that Spotify has turned into a huge brand because of its users. Everyone who uses it loves it, don't you? In the future, more is yet to come. With time, Spotify is growing insanely. The team is planning to do live events so people can get live music anywhere. Let's wait for how Spotify amazes music fans. If you are interested in more videos like this, then comment and hit the subscribe button. Till the next video, stay tuned.